What's up, guys? Hardcore Horror Nerd here. Today I have a couple of pickups to show you, and then I wanted to do my top 10 films of all time, and also a bunch of films that I never get tired of watching over and over again. So let's go ahead and start with the pickups. The first one up is Tango and Cash on Blu-ray. I've only seen this film one other time, and I actually liked it. My parents kind of made fun of me for getting it, but I liked it, and I especially like Kurt Russell films, so pretty excited to check this out again. And the next one up is a favorite of mine, a favorite Kevin Smith of mine, and that is Mallrats on Blu-ray. This particular Blu-ray includes the extended and theatrical versions. From what I can tell, the extended versions kind of has a bit more jokes that were cut out of the theatrical version that kind of give an explanation to why certain things in the storyline are happening. I haven't checked out the extended version yet, but I'm really excited to check that out soon. Alright, so let's start out with the top 10 films of all time for me. These are just my top 10 films. Not all of them are horror, but in fact, there's only like 2 actual horror movies in it. But let's just get started. The first one up, of course, is the original Halloween. This is my Anchor Bay 30th anniversary commemorative set with 6 discs that includes Halloween, Halloween on Blu-ray, Halloween the extended cut with the TV clips added into it, 25 Years of Terror doc, Halloween 4, and Halloween 5. And this awesome portrait of Michael Myers in the front. Next up is a favorite Kevin Smith film of mine again, and that is Clerks. I know I've talked about this movie before in my Kevin Smith video, so if you want to hear me talk about it, check it out. Next up, Pulp Fiction, probably my favorite Quentin Tarantino film of all time. Again, another movie that I know I've talked about for sure, so if you want to check it out, check me out talking about it and hear my opinion on it, check out my Tarantino video also on the channel. Next up is a favorite like crime thriller film of mine, and the movie that made me fall in love with Ryan Gosling basically, and that is Drive. This film from the start to the end is non-stop like thriller action, and I love it. It kind of gives you like a Fast and Furious kind of vibe with all the cars, but at the same time it gives you like a thriller crime vibe, and I really enjoy like crime thriller type films, and Ryan Gosling is amazing in it, and Bryan Cranston's character is also pretty good in it. Next up is a classic, and that is Fight Club. Now this movie is just amazing, amazing, amazing. It really messes with your mind almost. Like, honestly, the first time I watched it, it threw me off. The twist of the movie threw me off. So, yeah, if you haven't seen this movie yet, I don't know why you haven't seen it yet, but check it out. Next up is a favorite comedy of mine, and that is Fanboys. Fanboys is about a bunch of Star Wars fans breaking into the Lucas Ranch. Yeah, Lucas Ranch, to see the first film, Star Wars Phantom Menace, before it was released, and the subplot in it is one of their friends has cancer, so that's why they're doing it. It's a pretty, like, it's a hilarious film, but it also hits you emotionally with a bit of, like, the cancer storyline. But they do make a bunch of Star Wars references and a bunch of references in the 90s that if you grew up in the 90s you would get. So if you haven't seen this film yet, I highly suggest it. It's one of my favorite films, so check it out. Next up is another Quentin Tarantino favorite of mine, and that is Jackie Brown. I have Jackie Brown on VHS. I got it a few weeks ago. I think I showed it in a recent pickup video actually. Another like crime film. Crime films really interest me a lot, and Quentin Tarantino does a really, really good job with this film. So if you haven't seen this Quentin Tarantino film, check it out. Up next is another Edward Norton movie, and that is American History X. I recently checked this out for the first time a few months ago, and I fell in love with it instantly. Great storyline, great emotion, great. Just it really got me, and that ending actually made me cry. One of the best movies of all time, in my opinion. Next up is another Kevin Smith movie, and that is Mallrats. I love this movie. This is my favorite of the View-esque universe movies. Um, just, I mean, like I said, if you want to hear me talk about it, check it out, my Kevin Smith video. And finally, top 10, another John Carpenter movie is The Thing. Great sci-fi horror movie, another Kurt Russell film that I just absolutely adore and love, and it's just amazing all around. So check this out if you haven't yet, and if you have, watch it again because it's that amazing. All right, next up will be my horror movies. I added a few non-horror movies into it that I never get tired of watching. So first up, as always, is Halloween. I cannot express how much I love this movie, and this particular release is the media VHS with the flaps on the bottom and the top. I have it in a protective case just because there is some damage to the flaps, so I just want to keep it protected. This, like the Anchor Bay clamshell that I have that has the two orange tapes in it, is probably one of the versions that I will never like open up and watch. But yeah, really awesome to have this particular one in my collection. Next up on movies that I never get tired of watching, an 80s classic, an 80s gem, one of those movies that you can be considered rare because not a lot of people have seen it, and when you do see it, people kind of like, oh my god, you know this movie? And that's Chopping Mall, also known as Killbots. Chopping Mall, to simply put, it's about teenagers getting killed in the mall by security robots. It has the greatest headshot in horror history, in my opinion. The score is amazing. The effects are really... it's super cheesy and super fun. And that's all you need to know about this movie because that's how awesome it is. Waxwork Records is actually putting out a vinyl of the Chopping Mall score or soundtrack, and it goes on sale or pre-sale July 1st, so I'm thinking that's next Tuesday. So I'm pretty excited to order that just because it is Chopping Mall, and the Chopping Mall is one of my favorite 80s horror movies and one of my favorite like cheesy, just fun to watch, loving horror movies. Next up would be another 80s favorite of mine and my first actual gore flick to say, and that's Killing Spree. It's about a guy whose wife writes erotica stories, but he thinks she's writing all the times that she cheated on him, so he calls all the people in the stories up and invites them over to the house and murders them in various different ways. One guy died by a screwdriver in his head. One guy died by getting his head chopped off with a fan, which is a legitimate fear of mine. One guy died by getting buried into a ground and ran over by a lawnmower. And then they all come back as zombies, and the only way to stop the zombies is he has to either kill his wife or kill himself, and he opts out to kill himself. But then he comes back as a zombie, and I guess it's implied at the end, the very end, that he attacks his wife. Awesome, another cheesy 80s horror flick. Love it. This DVD was actually particularly hard for me to get. I ordered it on Amazon one time from a third party, big mistake. They stole my money, never got the disc. Found it on eBay for $5 less, and I was like, okay, I'll get it. Got it in 2 days. So I'm really happy I had this because I've only ever seen this. When I first saw this, it was in theaters at a thing called Horror Remix for Valentine's Day. It was called like Horror Love or something like that. And I was like, I need to get this film. So me and my friend searched it and we found it. And this is just one of our films that we love to watch together. Next up is, again, Mallrats. Kevin Smith can do no wrong in my opinion, and this is one of his best movies, and this is one of my favorite movies by him. So yeah, I will never get tired of watching Mallrats. It's probably the one Kevin Smith film I watch the most. Like, whenever I want to watch a movie, but I don't want to particularly watch horror or an action film, I go straight to Mallrats. So Mallrats is a favorite of mine, obviously. Next up is... Oh, that one's over here. Clerks. Clerks is another one I can never get tired of watching. Just, again, it's because it's Kevin Smith, and I love Kevin Smith films. So, yes, Clerks, check it out. Next. Next up would be Drive. Again, just this film I can never get tired of watching. This film is basically the non-horror version of the Maniac remake. And I mean that with the vivid colors that they use in the vivid in the music score, and just like the style of filming almost. So if you watch this and then you watch the remake of Maniac, you kind of get the like, oh, Maniac's like the same type of film, and it's really awesome. So check it out if you have not checked this out yet. Next up would be Pulp Fiction. Again, awesome Quentin Tarantino film. Love it. Can't say much about it because I've already said a lot about it. So if you want to hear me talk about it, I'm sure I've talked about it in other videos. Next up is Fanboys. Again, awesome comedy set in the 90s. Friends break into Lucas Ranch to go see the unedited, non-released copy of Phantom Menace. Awesome, awesome movie. Next up is another classic 80s horror film of mine that I just love dearly, and probably one of my favorite releases in my collection, and that is Nail Gun Massacre on Frightmare Video from Texas Frightmare Weekend, with the red cassette or the red VHS tape inside. Limited edition, number 564 of 1,000. Awesome slasher, 80s slasher cheese fest. Who doesn't want to see people get killed with a nail gun? It's just awesome. Next up is another 80s horror. I really like 80s horror. Another 80s horror of mine. This one I like to dub heavy metal horror, and that is Trick or Treat. Just heavy metal and horror go perfect together, and this movie is a perfect blend of that. One of those rare horror films, I would say, because if you know about it, you know about it, but not a lot of people really know about it. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, I do believe it is on YouTube, but if you can, try to support physical copies, but I do believe it's on YouTube, so check it out. Next up, another John Carpenter classic, that is Escape from New York. I decided to show off my VHS version because I haven't shown it in a long time, and I do have it on Blu-ray. And when I got this, it was sealed and brand new. I actually haven't watched it on VHS yet, but this is one of my favorite John Carpenter films. If you have not seen this one, check it out. Another one isn't a movie per se, it's a documentary, but it's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen, and that is Adjust Your Tracking, The Untold Story of the VHS Collector. This is the big box version it has the VHS, the DVD, and the bonus disc. I've watched this movie upwards to 15 times ever since I got it. Love it, never gets old to me, and it inspires. Every time I watch it, I get inspired and I go out and I buy more VHS tapes. So yeah, awesome film. And finally, my last film that I can never ever get tired of watching is another 80s slasher film. Probably one of the best slasher films next to Halloween that I have seen because of the cheesy factor, and a really awesome good gore film too. And that is Microwave Massacre. Big box VHS from Midnight Video. Just this film is amazing. Also on you again, this one's gonna be this one's gonna be harder to find. So I understand if you can't support the physical copies, but it is on YouTube. If you do want to check it out, briefly sum it up: a guy hates his wife's cooking, so he cooks his wife, and then he ends up eating her. And he's like, "Oh, humans taste good." So then he goes out and finds prostitutes, kills them, cooks them, and takes them for lunch the next day at work. Awesome, cheesy, fun, loving horror movie. Again, on YouTube if you ever want to check it out. And that's all the films I wanted to show off for my top 10 and the films that I can never get tired of watching. I do want to plug a few things here. The first one is September 23rd, the entire collection of the Exorcist films, I think it's called like the Exorcist Anthology, is coming out on Blu-ray, which is the same day that the Halloween box set comes out, which I'm going to hold off on getting the Exorcist one because for me, Halloween equals life, so I'd rather have the Halloween one first. But that does come out September 23rd, so if you're a big Exorcist fan and you like the anthology of it, go get that. I do not know if it's on pre-order already on Amazon. I just know from a certain person that told me that it existed, and that person is the Horrified. You can follow them on Instagram, and I will actually put their little @ the Horrified down below, so you can follow them on Instagram. They're two pretty cool dudes. They're also on YouTube. I believe their YouTube username is Evil Ed, so check that out. They make awesome videos, mostly pickup videos and review videos. Two awesome dudes. Also recently announced was the Leprechaun box set. It's going to be like the Chucky box set where it has the first, second, third, fourth, and then WWE is actually making the Leprechaun prequel right now, and that prequel is going to be like Curse of Chucky, where it goes directly to video into the box set, or on a separate DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, because it's not going to go into theaters, and they want to include it in the box set. Now, me particularly, I am not a Leprechaun fan. I tried to watch the series, but if you're a Leprechaun fan, perfect for you. For me, I'm gonna opt out on buying it. And another thing I wanted to say was True Detective on HBO. If you have not watched that first season of True Detective, you are truly missing out. It is the most amazing freshman season, whatever you want to say, that I have ever seen, next to Fargo. It was intense all the way throughout. Also, it's again not true crime. True crime is the genre of it, but it's a crime thriller film series, and it's amazing. Just intensity, character development is great. Matthew McConaughey's best role is probably in that series, and Woody Harrelson gives a great performance as well. So if you have not checked out True Detective, check it out. It's on HBO. As always, you can follow me on Instagram @HardcoreHorrorNerd. Have a good day and support horror.